Hey, it's Charlie Greenman. We've been discussing a lot over the past 3 weeks the benefits of unit testing, and I just wanted to create kind of like a 2-minute YouTube video that goes through on a very high level all the benefits of unit testing, so you can kind of just watch this video or give it to somebody and you would know what the benefits of unit testing is. So first and foremost, what is unit testing? Unit testing is that you're able to test the logic of the function itself in order to make sure that it's doing what it's doing. It doesn't apply to the actual interaction of the element itself, but it's the functions or the JavaScript that's powering the HTML and the CSS and the client side, everything you see on the screen behind the screens. So immediately, one of the benefits of something like that is that it causes you to rethink through the logic. Because if you force your organization to write unit testing on everything, you want to make the unit test as simple as possible so you don't have to write that much unit tests or that many unit tests. So you end up creating these really efficient functions. So that's one benefit, is that it causes you to have really efficient functions, and it also causes you to not only have smaller functions but rethink through the logic. So if there's something that you have to think twice about, for instance, being that it's an editable dialogue, that there's no data that's going to be there, or there's always going to be data. So perhaps you might realize later on when unit testing that you can remove the logic for asking whether or not there's data. Another added benefit is that it gives you confidence in your code base. If you have, and this is something I've seen many times, we'll have organizations with larger code bases, and they'll have something like 3,000 to 4,000 unit tests, sometimes even 10,000 unit tests for an application that's actually not that large. It's a regular mid-sized application, and it gives a tremendous amount of confidence to your organization, knowing that every time when they run their unit tests, that they're all passing as expected. Another important point is that unit tests are in a way self-documenting. If I can't understand the logic of a certain function or I'm having difficulty, I can go into the respective unit test, see what it's testing on, and it gives me a better understanding about what this function is supposed to do. I would say that also an added benefit is that being that you're writing unit tests and you want to make sure that they're as clean as possible, it always causes you to write pure functions, which is that the data that you're using within the function itself is always going to be passed into the param itself. When unit testing, it makes life infinitely easier. It's also cleaner for your code base. It makes it so that the data that you're passing into your functions aren't affected somewhere else. You know that there's a tree or there's a ladder leading down to the final function. So pure functions within unit testing are a benefit. I should add that it's important that your organization embrace unit testing. I've been in places where they have not had unit testing, and it's been absolutely really sad to see 6 to 12 months in. I've seen organizations where management, it was difficult to convince them, but the director of engineering showed them statistics saying that organizations that have unit testing end up coming out farther ahead for the reasons I mentioned above. One last point is that it's important to have a CICD pipeline, or a continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline. And what this is that once you submit your code, it will run through all the unit tests in your code base to make sure they run as expected. This is infinitely important to make sure that any new code that you submit into your application doesn't affect other code, and that also is properly unit tested. So you want an autonomous way within your organization of making sure that everybody's running unit tests, and this is relatively simple to do nowadays with the current infrastructure available through popular code repository systems such as GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket. So this is it. I really just wanted to discuss really briefly about the benefits of unit testing. It's something that I feel very passionate about because I've seen firsthand, and you really will never understand the benefits of unit testing until you experience it firsthand. So I kind of just wanted to relay over my firsthand experience and discuss the importance of unit testing. I would once again highly suggest that if your organization, even as a startup, is not using unit testing, that they proceed and go ahead and do so.